Hello, people. How everybody doing this weekend? The topic I'm going to discuss today is a little bit different compared to the topics I've been talking about the last 2 weeks. I want to talk about the Boston Massacre. I know many of y'all read about the Boston Massacre, which occurred um, on March 5th, 1770 in Boston, Massachusetts, where it was what occurred was when a mob started throwing rocks and other stuff at the Boston soldiers, and the soldiers returned fire and shot and killed and wounded several people, including an African American named Christopher Addicts. Um, Basically, the Boston Massacre was one of those main things and catalysts that became what occurred during the American Revolution. Basically, the two primary sources I found on American imprints. Um, the first one is called a particular account of the most barbarous and horrific massacre committed in King Street on Monday, March 5th, 1770, by the soldier there quartered in Fairtown. Then I have another primary source. It's called right here a memento inscription on the 5th of March, together with a few lines on the enlargement of the Isa Benzer Richardson convicted of murder, which was published 1772. The first primary source was published 1770, second one published 1772, 2 years apart. Basically, basically talking about the anniversary of the Boston Massacre. Um, Basically, the first primary source is basically, I think, a newspaper article that was discussing the events that occurred during that day during the Boston Massacre. The second primary source focus on talking about the Boston Massacre, but also have a poem in regards to what happened. And I think one of the persons that was soldiers that was involved in the massacre was convicted of murder. But to speak on the Boston Massacre and speak on the city of Boston itself, I think Boston do have a unique history and involvement in the American Revolution and the whole state of Massachusetts as well. Because you look at some of the things that happened in Boston, like the Boston Massacre in 1770. Then you look at what occurred during the Boston Tea Party in 1773, where a lot of people was angry over the British taxing on tea, and stuff like that. Um, Basically, and of course, you look at the two first wars during the American Revolution of Lexington and Concord occur in Massachusetts. So, the state of Massachusetts do have a heavily involvement of the American Revolution, and I think the particular event, the Boston Massacre, that makes significance. I think what was current going on during that time was the ongoing frustration among colonists and the British, and as many colonists are getting tired of British rule. So, in the case of the Boston Massacre, which is another factor of how basically of that frustration was growing. But on the primary sources, the pedagogy and the information literacy capable is the primary sources. I think are really good access of how to get really in-depth information on basically a particular subject. For me, when I was researching basically for primary sources in regards to the Boston Massacre, I have to be honest, it was a bit pretty much challenging because I had to really search for primary sources to really use, and I couldn't find really too many. It was pretty much scarce. So during American imprints, I was able to find these two very unique primary sources. What I mentioned in the video, I think it's to be honest. While reading these primary sources, it was very difficult to read because the words are really tiny, small in ink. So I had to really look closely at the primary source to understand what it was talking about. And like I said, the other primary sources had a poem in it, which were really difficult to understand. I know the meaning behind it, but it was just really difficult. But I think Boston Massacre is, I think it's just a topic that really interests me because just the whole Christopher really mainly for me was just that African American was a victim of the massacre and become a martyr in Christopher Addicts. A lot of people don't really know that, aware of that. But also too, it just being, just like an event that really shouldn't really happen. But it also too helped spark the American Revolution. So you look at this certain time in the 70s, 60s, 77. You look at these certain events, and just things led up to the American Revolution, and I think the Boston Massacre give you that kind of understanding of what was current during that time. Um, it's just one of them events. So yes, this is basically the video I want to make this weekend. And just talk a little bit about the Boston Massacre and these two primary sources. Hope everybody enjoyed this video, and looking forward to be back on here in week 4. Y'all have a good day.